Hello everyone, and in this first episode, we're going to talk about Marlin Monroe and the way that she got famous. This is going to be one of the first episodes because I'm going to make many other episodes and I'm going to try to explain to you the death, her life, and many conspiracy theories that are still to this day unsolved. Now, Marlin Monroe was the golden girl of Hollywood. She was loved and adored by millions. She was a remarkable actress and global figure of showbiz and even a singer. Hollywood is a really dark place, and when a crime happens, especially when famous people die, it's really hard to suspect who did the crime. The agent that had the case of Marlin Monroe predicted that he was going to have this case about 1 week, 2 weeks, or the most 3 weeks, but he ended up taking the case about 3 years and even thinks about it until this day. As an agent, he never talked to the press about his case, and since nobody knew him, no one was going to answer him. This made the case even harder because it was pretty hard to find evidence that could lead to new suspects. The beginning. So, Marlin Monroe, when she was a kid, she didn't know much about acting, but she loved it. She tried to understand the way famous people got the light to shine on them, and she wanted the light to shine on her too. One negative prospect of this is that many people believe that if you are famous or if you go to Hollywood, everything will be okay and alright. But that is not true because Hollywood will try to crush you. When Marilyn Monroe was a kid, she had also a favorite actress. She is Jen Harlow and she had white hair. She also was a sex symbol like Marilyn Monroe. Now, casting directors had a black book. And this black book contained the names of some girls. These girls were going to make love with the casting director because at the time, the form of payment used to be the love, while now it's the buck. And when I say love, you need to understand that it was more physical, not emotional. As one of the recordings says and explains that Marlin Monroe used to go in a restaurant. This restaurant had the richest people and the most wealthy men, and she was quite exotic. She started to meet somebody and, quote, she was at his house very much. She was beginning to form a few strides. In 1948, she wanted to be known, so she worked the system and didn't let the system work her. John High, one of the most influential agents in the country, loved Marlin so much that she left her wife because of her. At the time, he was 53 years old and 30 years older than Marlin Monroe. He was very wealthy, but he was seriously ill and had only 18 months left to live. He escorted her to the top people of town at night, and by day he adored her and showed his love to her. Johnny High talked to John Huston and told her about Marlin Monroe, so she sent her over to him by metro. John Huston gave a script to Marlin Monroe, and after 1 or 2 days later, she came, and she read it so beautifully that they immediately knew that they had to cast her. They casted her in the Asphalt Jungle. After the movie was published, everyone loved it, and everyone started to adore Marlin Monroe. She was praised for her looks and the way she spoke. She was definitely a great actress. But how did Marilyn Monroe become so much famous? Now, Monroe's rise to fame wasn't only acting. She actually started her career as a model, working for several modeling agencies in the 1940s. She then transitioned to acting and landed her first major role in the movie The Asphalt Jungle. However, her breakthrough role came in the 1953 movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where she played the character of Lorelei Lee. This movie established Marilyn Monroe as a sex symbol and helped to launch her career in Hollywood. She went on to star in many more movies, including The 7-Year Itch, 1955, and Some Like It Hot, 1959, both of which are considered iconic movies. She was bright and wanted to learn. The world became friendly towards her, and quote, she said that if I am the star, The people make me a star. Things weren't like this at all when she was young. So she was really grateful for every single opportunity that she had. But now many questions come towards her and about her death. Was it suicide? Was it an accident? Or was it something more sinister that we don't know about? Our detective here found about the psychiatrist that Marilyn Monroe used to go to. The psychiatrist had said about Marilyn Monroe that she wasn't very happy and she definitely was struggling with many things in her life, starting with the way when she was little that she went into an orphanage, foster homes, and got married at a young age. Also, the moment when her mother had to go into the mental asylum kind of made her sad. Now, the psychiatrist wanted to treat her in a different way, in an unusual way that wasn't really famous at the time, and I don't think it's famous now. She took her in her family and they would eat together, and after they would eat, he would ask her about the problems that she had encountered. Also, a new man came in her life, DiMaggio. She was really happy with him and she really liked him. Now, Marilyn Monroe in her mid-20s usually dated really famous people. She liked DiMaggio because he would understand some things about her and Marilyn would understand some things about him. He would say that they were really connected. Now, when Marilyn Monroe went to the psychiatrist, she would also talk to the family. They would talk about many things, but one thing in particular that made into detective's mind was that Marilyn Monroe was talking about her boyfriend, which was the general. The general, many people believe to be the president or Robin, so it had to be a politic figure. While on the other hand, the girls that she was talking to find it quite unusual because they only dated normal people, normal guys that were interested in them. Joe and Marilyn Monroe had their trip to the Japan, but he wasn't happy with Marilyn Monroe because she would go to Korea and to the camps to perform for them. I think she really cared and felt his concern towards her, but she was soon bored. In The 7-Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe, one of the most remarkable scenes is where the wind lifts her skirt and she tries to hold it. This is one of the most famous scenes and kind of all the people know about it. In the making, there were about 10,000 people and many were trying and running to get autographs from her. Now, Gladys Whitten, the hairdresser of Marilyn Monroe, says that Joe got really upset with her. They had this private suit, and when Marilyn Monroe went there, he beat her up a little bit, she said. She screamed for them to help, but the walls were so thick that they couldn't hear her and couldn't help her. The other day, when Marilyn Monroe came, she had bruises on her shoulders that showed the violence that Joe had did to her. This wasn't a happy marriage, so it ended soon. The marriage ended about 9 months, and the media, journalists, and people would constantly ask her how was the relationship between her long-distance friend. Well, she would say that she didn't meet him at all, and also they would ask her if she talked to him, but she said, I would prefer if I didn't talk to him. Marilyn Monroe quote said that when I was put in the orphan room, they pulled me and I kept crying and screaming, I'm not an orphan. I called every woman I would see. I'd say, there's a mama. If I'd see a man, I'd say there's a daddy. This is really sad and really concerning because of all of the childhood memories that she had, and she felt that she had survived that. We also have the Arthur Miller situation in 1956, and he was known for his play. When people would ask Marilyn Monroe why she started to date him, she quotes that, have you seen him? He was 40 and his career really took off. She also wanted to accomplish something that she had had in her heart for a really long time. She wanted to be a true actress, an artist with integrity. Marilyn Monroe really wanted to have her own production company. She made her own production company called Marilyn Monroe Production Company, and she would figure out everything. She had all the scenes in her mind, and she was a really smart person. That also was what Arthur Miller, boyfriend at the time, thought of her, that she was a very intelligent person. With a divorce, another boyfriend, and the media looking at every single step that she did, she wasn't living the perfect life that everyone thought she was living. But what will happen next? How was her death turned out to be? And many conspiracy theories? We are going to talk about that in the next episode.